Hey, thanks for joining us today at the Technical Institute. Today we're going to be going over the tire Linc system. This is a tire pressure monitoring system. It obviously monitors the pressure inside your tires, but also if there's excess heat. This system will work on single, double, or triple axles, and it operates and is programmed through the One Control app. So we'll go through downloading the app and how to set that all up. The other option you have, so this is that aftermarket kit. The other option you have that you can order with that aftermarket kit is the alert indicator. Now the alert indicator goes inside the tow vehicle and will alert you to any concerns with any one of your tires. That way, instead of having to open up the One Control app and look and determine if there's a concern, this will beep at you, letting you know that you'll want to go ahead and look. Now some OEMs or manufacturers on newer coaches will include this on that brand new unit. On the aftermarket side, it is an option that you can purchase to go ahead and insert in your tow vehicle. Nice thing about this is it plugs right into that USB port, so it can charge that way. So it is it is rechargeable, and it can just sit inside that tow vehicle. Next thing we'll do is we'll go through what's inside the box, what you can expect to get if you're buying an aftermarket system versus what you may already have if you have gotten the system from your manufacturer of your coach. And then we'll go through setup. And at the end of that, we'll look through how to adjust in the One Control app the range of either the pressure or the temperature. Let's go ahead and open up the box. So inside the box here, we've got our 4 stem sensors. Now you can get a pack of 2 of these. So if one of them was to fail on you for some reason, you can just replace one of them and then you'd have a spare one in hand as well. So if we lift up this panel, we can go ahead and pop out our 4 stem sensors. Each one of these stem sensors does have its own battery inside. You'll also notice on that stem sensor, the other ones have it as well, is this QR code. And we'll need that QR code to go through setup here in a little bit. Each one of these has its own battery. It's a 3-volt battery. Those batteries are replaceable, and I'll show you how to take one of those apart here in a little bit so you have an idea of how easy that is. The other item we have here is our repeater attached to our docking station. Now the docking station does need to be installed vertically so that the words face up. The repeater is keyed specifically, so you can't install this repeater on the docking station upside down. The main reason we want to install this in that vertical position is so that the repeater is getting and sending and receiving signals from our stem sensors. The other thing we need to do during installation, if you're doing an aftermarket installation, is properly wire this up. So we have the black wire, which is our ground wire, and we have the red wire, which is our 12-volt signal. The red wire does need to have a 15-amp fuse in line before it. The other thing you want to keep in mind when wiring this up is you want this wired up before your battery disconnect. That way, if your battery disconnects off, this is still getting powered up and sending signals and receiving signals to your stem sensors so that you're still getting those signals inside your tow vehicle. A few other things we have inside of here. We've got the stem sensor tool, so this is going to help us take apart or install the stem sensors. We also have this wrench and some locking nuts. So you don't have to use the locking nuts, but those locking nuts will help secure those stem sensors, acting like an anti-theft device. Inside here, you also have a little quick start guide, and then the manual. So this will help you go through installation and all that stuff as well. So we just got done looking at the aftermarket packaging. The OEM packaging or box that you might find in your unit would look something similar to this, or just sort of a box like we see here. So if we open this up, we've got our installation manuals and a few other guides right up top here. They just slide out of this package just like that. We still have our stem sensor tool and the wrench for our lock nuts. We have our stem sensors in here and our lock nuts as well. Inside of this bubble wrap, we have the alert indicator. This is what I mentioned earlier that would mount inside your tow vehicle. Now again, some OEMs will include this in their packaging. If not, it is still available aftermarket for you as well. As I mentioned about that alert indicator, it does charge via USB. So you do have this USB cable that it comes with so that you can charge that. And there's also some Velcro strips that you can attach this inside your tow vehicle as well. Inside the other bubble wrap here, we have our repeater. Again, same orientation. So making sure that when you go ahead to attach this to the docking station has been installed properly. Now you can see that there's no docking station inside this packaging. It's because if it's an OEM installation, it's already been installed inside of your new unit. So the whole process for programming and all of that would be the same, whether it's aftermarket or manufacturer installed system. The only difference is if you've bought it aftermarket, you would have to install the docking station. All right, so we've gone ahead and we've routed our power wire. We've found a good place for our docking station to get connected to our battery. We have our inline 15 amp fuse right inside of here. The next thing we're going to do is, after we get it mounted to the wall, we'll go ahead and connect our ground wire. I have it positioned for it up outside of the frame here. So first things first, go ahead and attach the docking station. Keeping in mind when I do this, I want to make sure that the orientation of the docking station is just like we see here. I don't need it hanging down like that, and I definitely don't want it upside down. Otherwise, what will happen is the repeater and the stems, or the stem sensors, won't be able to communicate properly, and we'll get readings that are off, or we won't get readings at all. So making sure that the installation looks like we're doing here is going to be the most, going to give you the most accurate readouts. Now that I've got that mounted, I'm going to go ahead and connect my ground wire just up outside of the frame here. I'm going to go ahead and get this looking a little better so my wires aren't dangling down. Definitely don't want to leave them loose. That way when I'm putting all my stuff, when I'm done camping back inside this pass-through bay, I'm not snagging any of these wires. So we'll go ahead and do that now, and then we'll come back and put our repeater into our docking station. So we've gone ahead and we've straightened up our wires so that we're not worried about getting anything snagged when we're putting our camping stuff away. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to come in here. We're going to go ahead and we're just going to insert the repeater just like that. Like I said, it only goes one way, but you can tell right now the status light's blinking red. So that tells me that my power is good and it's ready to start going through the pairing process. To start that pairing mode, we're going to take a small screwdriver or a paper clip or needle, whatever you've got that's small enough to press that button. It's actually a button right next to where it says pair, and that will take us through the pairing process. We'll get to that in a moment. The next thing we want to do is actually break apart one of these stems to give you an idea of how they work. So let's go ahead and move over to one of those. All right, let's go ahead and look at our sensors here. So these stem sensors only activate once they're actually put on to the valve of the tire. So right now it's not activated. There's no signal being drained off the battery at all. But once we tighten this down on the tire, it will activate the battery in there and attempt to send signal to and from the repeater. But we'll have to pair it before it can send or receive any of that signal. The stem tool here has two sides to it. Right here we have a shallow side and the deeper side here. What these two sides do is the deep side here helps tighten down that sensor onto the valve. The shallow side here helps disassemble or take apart the stem sensor so that you can gain access to the battery. These batteries are 3-volt batteries. Simply slide, kind of push on one edge of it and it'll slide out there for you. These batteries are replaceable. If you replace a battery, you don't have to reprogram the stem sensor. If for whatever reason you have had to replace the entire stem sensor, then you would have to redo the learning process for that sensor onto your particular unit. Next step we'll do is we'll go through the programming process. That way we can see exactly how to set these up. Here we're going to use the OneControl app on our phone to help set up the tire link system. Now I'm using an Android phone. If you're using an iPhone, either one will work, but if you're using an iPhone, the images might look a little different than my phone, but the setup process is the exact same. The first thing you're going to have to do is create a login account. That's no different than any other login account that you would create normally for any other website or any other app. The next thing you're going to have to do is connect to the RV. We're going to go through two processes. The first process would be if you don't have a Wi-Fi hub, a OneControl Wi-Fi hub already inside your coach, and you're just wanting to use the TPMS system. The next process after this will show, if you have a OneControl system already inside your coach, how to connect that method. So the first method here will be, we'll press and release the pair mode button, and then we will scan the QR code on any one of the stem sensors. So it doesn't matter which one, but we're going to scan, after we hit the pair mode, we're going to scan that QR code. So first things first, I'm just going to use a pen here. I'll press and release the pair. You'll see the red status light indicate go on. I'm going to hit let's go to connect to RV. And now it wants me to scan the label. So right now down here it just says start scanning. And then what I can do is get that stem sensor in my camera. You can see it says scanning. And now it's going to search for those options in this menu. If it took a while for it to scan, or if it's still searching up top here, and the pair mode light goes off on the status icon, just go ahead and hit the pair mode button again. All right, so it'll kind of restart that process. But you can see right here I have tire link. So it says Bluetooth, there's a little Bluetooth symbol, and then it says tire link right to my right. Next thing I'm going to do is hit tire link. And now it wants me to continue through the process, but it says RV connected successfully. Now after you hit continue from the previous screen, the next thing it's going to want you to do is enter RV details. Now you can see on my screen it says set up remote access. There's actually an X next to that in that blue circle, and it says feature not supported on RV. That means that I am setting this up without a Wi-Fi hub inside my unit. So I'll still be able to communicate to my tire sensors through my phone, but I'm not going to have other OneControl options inside my coach, simply because my coach isn't equipped with those options. So the next step here is we've got option number 4, enter RV details. So we hit next, or let's go. What year is your coach? So you go through and select your coach. We happen to be working on a 2012. And then you just keep going through this different step or setup process step by step as you pick your coach. After you've selected all the appropriate items for your particular coach, it wants you to confirm those details. Go ahead and hit confirm. And now you have to select what type of coach it is. So is it a Class A, Class C, fifth wheel, or travel trailer? Simply enough, ours is a travel trailer, so we'll go ahead and select that option. And now, this is an important step. If you select the wrong one for whatever reason, you can restart this process, but you do want to make sure you're selecting single, double, or triple axle. We have a double axle, so we'll come over here to the right. And now it says RV details set successfully. We'll hit continue. Next thing it wants me to do is set up a pin. I'm going to make mine generic and simple. You'll enter it twice. Second time is for confirmation. Now it says one control setup complete. Continue to the app. Now, because we only have TireLinc, we only have tire monitoring. If you are already familiar with one control and it happens to be on your coach, you may have lighting, slides, leveling, and we'll show you inside of the One Control app on how to get to the screen to set up your tire monitor here in just a moment. To continue through the process, you would just type TireLinc. And right here, now we can go through and actually learn and set up our different tire sensors. But let's go ahead and take a look at, if you've already got one control on your coach, how do you get to this screen that you see here in front of you? All right, so if you already have the One Control app, like I mentioned before, you might have a lot of other options here on your home screen. For you to set up the TireLinc, since you've already gone through the preliminary setup, for you to get to the TireLinc menu or to be able to add that, you simply go to settings down here at the bottom. Again, on iPhone, it might be off to the left or in some other location, but just different operating systems there. Press and release the settings icon. And then right down here, you have Add Accessory. So we click on Add Accessory, and then we would click on TireLinc. Now, if you're setting this up and you notice that it has TireLinc, a bunch of numbers, and there's a number off to the right, and then there's another one that says TireLinc, and another TireLinc, and another TireLinc, whatever number is the highest, that's the number you want to select. So this one said -72, and it's our only option, so that's what I'm going to select. But if we had this -72 one, and a -60, and a 0, and a 50, we'd want to select the 50 option because that is the highest number of what we had on our screen. So simply press TireLinc. And again, you're only doing this if you already have the One Control and you want to add the TireLinc in. At that point, we've already set up our coach. So our coach is automatically going to populate like you see here. As we said, it was a travel trailer. It's a tandem axle setup, and I already have it set to my favorite devices, which means it's going to show up on my home screen. If I don't want it to show up on my home screen, I can simply click that to no on the favorite device icon there, or turn it to yes to turn that option back on. The next process is to go ahead and start to add in our various tire sensors. So when you first open up the box that the TireLinc kit comes in, you'll also notice that you have these baggies that have a spare O-ring and a lock nut. Now the O-ring is for anytime you replace the battery inside the sensor. The lock nut would be that anti-theft deterrent that I mentioned earlier that you would put on the stem here, then you would put on the sensor, and then you would take that wrench that came in the package as well and tighten down that nut onto the back side of this sensor. If you decide to use those locking nuts, if you need to change the battery on these, don't forget to loosen up that lock nut before you try to remove the sensor. The other important thing with installation on these is that you always have to start with the left front tire first, then you move down towards the rear of the left side of the coach. So left front, left mid, left rear, and then you go over to the right side of the coach and continue that process. So on my particular model of phone, in order to start the learning process, right underneath favorite devices or right at favorite devices, I simply hold my finger there and scroll up. Then I'll get learn sensors, and then underneath that, configure all sensors. We don't need to worry about configure all sensors. We just need to do the learn sensors. It's very important that we do not put any of these stem sensors on our stems before we enter the learn sensor mode. Otherwise, what's going to happen is you'll have to start the entire process over. You'll have to unpair the stem sensors from the repeater, and it'll just be sort of a headache for you. So don't do anything until you enter that learn sensor mode. So first thing here, hit learn sensors. It's going to ask us, hey, make sure you've unscrewed all your sensors before you do this. Go ahead and hit continue. And it says front left. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and screw in my front left sensor. It can take up to 30 seconds before the system finds my front left. But you can also already see that it says front left sensor found. So I'm simply going to scoot back to the next tire, and I'm going to go ahead and put that sensor in. And then we're going to move it around the coach just like that, in that manner. So after following the on-screen prompts, you can see that we've got front left sensor found, rear left sensor, front right, and rear right sensor all found. If you go through this process and let's say the rear left sensor is not able to be connected, you would just have to start the learning process over. So you'd have to start from front left, rear left, and then go all the way through just like we did. If your screen goes dormant or your phone goes to sleep while going through that process, you will have to restart that. So make sure your phone stays awake while the sensors are trying to communicate to the repeater. Other than that, since we have all these found, we can go ahead and hit finished. So as far as using the Tire Linc system on your phone, if you're traveling, the sensors will communicate with the repeater every 1 minute. If you're stationary, the sensors will communicate with the repeater every 15 minutes. There's 2 ways to get that information on when the last time data was sent. Right underneath where it says tire pressure right there, it says last data received. It was 6 minutes ago. The other way to do it is if we come down here and select on a specific tire, you can currently see that all of them are giving their own specific readout. We've got 38 PSI with 78 degrees on our front tire, front left tire. On the rear left tire, we have 44 PSI with 77 degrees. And then over here on the right, we have those specific readings. But if we want to see the last time that the front left sensor communicated with the repeater, simply click on that specific item, and then right here it says data last received. So it was the sensor last communicated with the repeater at 1:43 p.m. on 7/31/2020. Down here it says our current pressure reading, the current temperature reading, the current battery level. Down here we have our minimum pressure. So minimum pressure can be anything at 0 psi all the way up to 47 psi. So that's your minimum pressure ratings. The maximum pressure ratings are anything at 33 psi all the way up to 201 psi. Now if you want to change what your maximum pressure rating is, you simply select that option and it will automatically set it for you. So if we want to change that maximum pressure rating, let's say back down to 91 psi, simply select 91 and you'll see that it's now set at 91 psi for our maximum pressure. Maximum temperature goes from -50 all the way up to 150. If we go back here, our maximum temp change is anything that's plus or minus 60 degrees of the 150 that we currently have set. And then down here, if you need to replace a sensor, simply click on that, and that will take you through that learn process. If you go back to the main menu, if you were to click on Learn Sensors here, it will make you unscrew all those tire sensors and restart the process as well. If a specific tire goes out of those preset positions you have determined they are, so our minimum pressure versus our maximum pressure or the temperature, you'll get an alert for that specific tire. The next step we're going to go through is linking the alert indicator to your Tire Linc system. Now you may not have gotten this with the aftermarket kit, and that's okay. It's an add-on that you could purchase separately, but you may have gotten it from the OEM. So the first thing we're going to do here is we're going to activate the indicator. It's going to blink 1 red and then 3 blue times. That's going to let you know that this is not paired to our Tire Linc repeater. Once we wake it up, we're going to press and hold the pair mode button in until it starts to blink rapidly. And then we're going to press and hold down on this button here on your alert indicator. So first things, we'll go ahead and wake it up. We'll go ahead and press and hold that pair mode button down. And now once it's blinking, we're going to press and hold down on the alert indicator again. After it blinks 3 times, it's going to make a little happy tone. You can let go of the indicator, and now it is ready to go. If it's flashing green, that means the repeater is within range of the alert indicator. If it's flashing yellow, there's no connection or we're out of range of the repeater. And red indicates that there's a fault. So in the event that this is flashing red, that would mean that one of the tires is out of the pressure range that we previously saw in the last video. So maybe the tire has is losing pressure. At that point, you would want to go to your phone and determine which tire has lost pressure, and then correct any issues with that tire as needed. Last thing we want to cover today is troubleshooting. Troubleshooting for the tire Linc system is pretty straightforward and pretty basic. Let's say, for instance, that the tire sensor, just one of them, let's say it's the left rear tire here, is no longer communicating with your repeater. Chances are in that case that either the sensor itself or the battery inside that sensor have gone bad. Simply replace the battery or the sensor, whichever one you determine to be the fault there, and you're good to go. If none of your sensors are communicating to the repeater itself, then chances are the power supply has been interrupted going to your repeater, and either that 15 amp fuse is blown or the power source that you're getting power for your repeater from is no longer available. Verify whichever one of those 2 things might be the problem and correct as needed. Other than that, that is troubleshooting for the system. As we mentioned previously, you can replace the sensors. You'll just have to have the sensors relearn or reconnect to the repeater at that point. So that covers our overview of Tire Linc for today. Thanks for joining us again here at the Technical Institute. If you have any other questions in regards to Tire Linc, you can go to our website. That's lci1.com. There we have manuals for the system and a variety of other components that we offer. If you need any troubleshooting or other customer service assistance, you can contact our care center. That's 574-537-8900, open Monday through Friday, and also have Saturday hours as well. If you don't want to call in, but you feel like chatting, the option for chatting with one of our customer service representatives is available as well. There's a chat feature that you can press there. Or don't forget, we have the My LCI app with all this information on the go.